or teeth become so structurally compromised that they begin to break off when they chew. And the majority of the patients that we see are coming to us because they've had a root canal which has failed. Now the tooth is broken down and they can no longer restore it. And now the tooth is lost and we have to find a solution. So yes, dentures are definitely passé, so to speak. But the beauty is the technology and the understanding of the physiology and biology has taken us so far that now we can grow bone and we can grow gum tissue where we couldn't do it before,
Wow.
which gives us these options now of giving people function and aesthetics and self-esteem and confidence back into their lives, which is really exciting.
Okay, so can you give us some more specific examples of what happens when we lose a tooth?
Sure. As mentioned just recently, the most obvious example is when you take all the teeth out and put a denture in, that you have this incredible physiological response of the bone just melting away. And it's devastating. And patients end up with these dentures that are so-called floaters, where they have no retention and basically have to survive on denture adhesive, which is very unhealthy for us. But another example would be when you lose a tooth in the front, for example, and you want to restore this tooth, it isn't just a matter of taking the tooth out and putting the implant in, because what we know from the literature is that the small plate of bone that is on the outside edge next to the lip around our tooth is less than a millimeter thick in over 90% of the patients. Wow. So when the tooth comes out, as I mentioned before, a certain portion of the bone called the bundle bone comes with it. That means that that little plate of bone that you have on the outside is virtually gone. Now, if that bone is gone, the body is designed to heal, but it won't heal with new bone. It will heal with soft tissue. And so you get this caving in of the outside ridge, which creates a huge aesthetic defect. And so this has to be managed at the time of the extraction or after the extraction with some type of gum and bone filling technique called a graft. And that will help to restore that site so the implant can be placed so it will be stable, but also so that the final restoration can look very pleasing and aesthetic. Huh. Another example, which is interesting, is that in the back of the mouth on the upper arch, as we get to the molars, just above the molars or even the premolars is a very important anatomical structure called the maxillary sinus. And we hear about people who have sinus congestion, and these are huge air spaces and cavities that are just above the molars. In fact, the roots of the molars virtually jut right into these sinuses in many cases. And so what happens is when a tooth is removed, let's say an upper molar, we get this bone loss, which we've discussed, which happens instantly when the tooth is removed. Within the first 8 weeks, you lose a significant amount of bone, but also the air pressure from the sinus causes the bone to be lost, so to speak, from the top down, and that's called pneumatization of the sinus, and the air space actually grows in size. The sinus gets bigger as we get older and as we lose teeth. And so therefore, people who come in with missing back teeth after a few years would like to get some implants placed. Oftentimes can't get those implants initially because there's not enough bone to support the implant. But the good news, of course, is that today we have really, really fantastic protocols which are very predictable to actually regrow bone. And within 4 months, we can have amazing bone to place the implants and give people back the wonderful quality of life by placing implants and a restoration on those implants.
Wow. Dr. Eckert, we're almost out of time, but just any quick last thoughts you'd like to share with us?
You know, Nick, in summary, I would just like to say that what really is important, as I mentioned in the very first podcast, that nature ultimately humiliates us, and we're dealing with biology, and there is nothing we can do to some of these things that happen in nature. And when we take a tooth out, there will be a physiological response. The good news is that as we understand this more and more, we can do things to help minimize this damage, and we have great options to try and compensate for these damages so that there are great options available for patients to have a long-lasting, healthy, functional, aesthetically pleasing smile And so it really is a good news scenario in the day and age that we live in today, that we understand the physiology, but we also have the technology and the science to help solve these problems for our patients.
All right. Well, that's great. And we're going to hear all about sort of what we can do in the future to sort of how we restore teeth and what the treatment looks like and what the long-term health is. But unfortunately, we are out of time. And if you know someone who might benefit from what Dr. Ickert has talked about today or in the previous 5 podcasts, please go ahead and share this podcast with them. I'm sure they'll thank you for it. There's a lot of great information. And you can reach Dr. Ickert at www.ickertdentalimplants.com. That's ickertdentalimplants.com. You can always reach his office by telephone at 604-881-1381 or call them toll free at 1-866-931-1981. Dr. Ickert, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Nick. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening. At Ickert Dental Implant Center, we are committed to providing you with the very best in modern and advanced dentistry. If you would like more information about dental implants and our extensive range of specialized dentistry services, please call us today at 866-981-1381. That's 866-981-1381. Or visit us on our website at www.ickertdentalimplants.com.
Local stories, local voices. We're localwebradio.fm.